Karen, good morning.
Good morning, Gary.
Let's begin with what we saw last night. We knew it was going to be a good game. It was very competitive. Alabama had opportunities, but I think one reason that Oklahoma is such a great team and is they are able to find a way to make one more play than you make when they have to do it, and that's what happened last night. Alabama could have won, but Oklahoma did. And in these type of games, in this environment, it might come down to one fly ball dropping in or not making a play in the field or not taking an extra base or not moving a runner over. The smallest of things equate to either winning or losing here, and I thought that's what we saw last night.
Yeah, I think four things stood out in my mind. The first thing was Montana in that first inning came out. She was maybe a little bit too hyped up. Her speeds were probably a mile or two faster than what we've seen, and so that's usually the heart's racing and the blood's pumping, and her first college experience here at the World Series. But the positive from that was that she got out of that inning with only surrendering one run after loading those bases up, and that was on a sac fly, so they didn't even get a hit to score that run. And then the second thing was that there was two things that happened. The timely hitting came at the end for Oklahoma, and it didn't for Alabama, and that's what separated the winning and losing there. The third thing that stood out in my mind was that Alabama is in a position where, you have Sides, Hemphill, Tao, Dykes, right in a row there. Those are probably your four biggest producers, with Brown being down at the bottom right now. It's hard for them to be able to keep manufacturing runs when KB and Tao were both left off the base path. Because with Hemphill, came here with a clutch RBI, but you're not going to get a whole lot of speed on the base pass with her. So I think for them to get through this tournament on the offensive side, Tao, Dykes, they're going to have to do some form of producing, maybe not all of them at the same time, but one of those three in each game is going to have to produce some runs and hits.
Absolutely. We saw Alyssa's struggles in the postseason with staying in the box. So she had to be moved down to the 9 hole. You and I talked about it. You can't give away an out. But last night, KB Side struggles at the top. And Brown, if she can stay in the box, Karen, she's such a weapon. And do you think there'll be a thought process of moving her back up to the top of the lineup for tomorrow's game against Florida?
Yeah, there could be. I mean, her first two at-bats, she did a great job. She was in the box. There was no violation. The last one, she probably was out. It wasn't called, but she probably was out of the box. And, give credit to Kaylee Clifton. She made the defensive play of the game with that incredible backhand. But, they're the number one team on defense for a reason. And, that's what we expect from Oklahoma, and that's what we got from them. And so, that ball bounces any different direction. That whole inning probably transforms a whole lot differently. But, yes, I think there's an opportunity for him to do that. I don't know. They were facing a really, really good lefty, so I don't want to just, substitute KB Sides with all that she's done in the postseason.
Sure.
She's young. That's her first experience. She faced a very, very good lefty last night, and she probably learned a whole lot about her approach going into the rest of this World Series.
I kind of covered the other games earlier with Adam, so I just want to keep my focus on Alabama with you. It is what it is. I mean, you lose that game. The good thing is you do get a break today to kind of get yourself reset. As Murphy said, if anybody's got the pitching to come through the loser bracket, it's Alabama. But as fate would have it, you face your number one national rival in Oklahoma, and now you face your number one SEC rival in Florida. Murph said at the SEC tournament he hoped that they were finally through with Barnhill, but that's just not the way it's going to be. They're going to get her again tomorrow in a make-or-break game. How do you see this matchup? Alabama swept them in Gainesville, but Barnhill beat Alabama in the finals of the SEC tournament. Kind of handicap this game tomorrow, win or go home for these two teams from the SEC.
I see it very, very favorable for Alabama, and there's two things that really stand out. I think that Alabama has learned a lot about which pitchers he's going to use in which situations, and I think he learned a lot about what is most effective for Montana, because Florida in all of those games didn't do a whole lot on offense. A lot of that offense that they generated in the SEC tournament was free passes by Alabama. So I think when you look at that, you say, we were able to control them from an offensive standpoint. I think Alabama has had really good quality at-bats against Barnhill and was in a really good situation to score some runs, a lot of runs early in that game, if you recall.
Absolutely.
So I think it's very favorable for Alabama. I think if anybody's built to work through this losers bracket of all the teams in this tournament, it is probably Alabama, because they do pitch by committee, and they're all used to pitching in these games now. So I think it's very favorable for Alabama. It's a very tough road, though, to come through. As you see, there's some really strong Pac-12 teams here, so it's going to be a big challenge. But I think if there's a team built to get through this, it's going to be them.
Karen, Korie, one of our great Bama softball fans and one of my regular callers from over there in your area, in Hewitt-Trussville area, already called in this morning. And obviously, once you get to the Women's College World Series, you want to win the championship. I get that. But for Alabama, with what they've accomplished already this year after being picked 8th, and not that I'm giving in to anything. I mean, Alabama's still got softball to play. But when you look ahead to next year, Reagan Dykes is going to be tough to replace. There's no doubt about it. But you get all your pitching back other than Gettins, who hasn't pitched a ton, and you bring in Alexis Kilfoyle to go with Fouts. Maybe Kilfoyle's even better. You get the bulk of your lineup back. I am looking ahead a little bit. This team next year, on paper, is going to be phenomenal. And I know we got to play more softball this year, but have you thought about how powerful Alabama could be on paper going into next season?
Yeah, I think the potential is there. The potential for the team next year is definitely going to be stronger than this year's team because of a couple of factors. They have some right-handed power hitting coming in, which is what they need more right-handed hitters that can hit for average and power, and they have that coming. They have an outfielder coming, and Kilfoyle is a very good hitter in her own right. So you're going to see, a two-way player in her. I think the other thing for Alabama, the only open-ended question, you already mentioned it, is who's going to fill behind the dish? Who's going to be that mainstay catcher? Mm-hmm. And that's going to be their biggest question mark, which I'm sure by the end of the summer they're going to have that, fulfilled and ready to work in the fall to get ready for that. But, anytime you lose a quality catcher in baseball or softball, it's big shoes to fill because it's such a pivotal position. You're involved in every single play of the game. So if there's any question mark for next year, it's that. Again, though, we have seen many and many times, we see it at this stage all the time, too, at this College World Series, is that fulfilling the expectations of wearing that uniform sometimes takes some kids longer than others. Some never get it, and some get it right off the bat, like you see a Montana Fouts getting it right away. So a lot of that is going to be how do those kids develop, once they put that uniform on and what that expectation feels like.
All right, a couple more topics I want to cover with you, Karen, before we let you go. And these are not in relation to the games being played, but one thing that came up on Whip and Barry's show this morning with James was, and then I got something else fans are driving me crazy about. But first, the wristband that Montana wears and other pitchers. Explain exactly what's happening when the pitch call comes in from Van Brakel in the dugout to Dykes and to Montana, and what all is on the wristband.
Let me go ahead and just nail this right off the top, and then I'm going to talk about that. The bat flip and the wristbands are the most overplayed and overreactive things in the game of softball and baseball right now. I don't see what the big deals are. I don't know. I don't even care. But this is the key with the wristbands. This is the whole thing, and you see a lot of college baseball teams doing this now. When kids are growing up, they're not calling their own pitches anymore. Okay, so when they get to college, they don't know how to do it, so the coaches do it. And I get why the coaches are doing it. I don't like it personally because I was a catcher, and I would never want somebody to do that for me. But with the technology and resource that coaches have, and they have all day to prepare while these kids are at class, I get why they do it. The reason behind the wristbands is that more so in softball, but definitely in baseball, it's just not as talked about because it's not considered, I don't know if it's macho enough, but picking signals and picking pitches is a big deal in our game and in baseball. And what the wristband system does is you change those wristbands out. You can change them every inning. You can change them every game. You can change them all the time. And on offensive defense, it's a number sequence, and it works in a 3-number sequence. Right. And you can do unlimited number of cards. And, if they flash a 4-6, it's a curveball in the outside corner.
Right.
What they try to do, too, is because the pitch calling is coming from the benches, and a lot of pitch calling is coming in Major League Baseball from the bench, and people don't realize that either sometimes, is that it speeds the game up have the wristbands on, because it's like, okay, the pitcher's got it. It gives the pitcher an opportunity to shake it off quicker. Those things happen. So it's not even that big of a deal. It doesn't matter. What difference does it make what kind of signals you're giving, whether it's on a wristband or whether you're touching your hat and your shoulder and your hip and all that other stuff. So I think it's way over criticized. I think it's way overplayed. And I think if people understood the development at the younger levels as to why the college coaches are going to it, it's just helpful. It's helpful, and it makes it quicker for everybody.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you explained it. I was really close this morning in my explanation. I knew it was a numeric code in relation to the pitch and the location, so I was pretty close. The last thing that I want to ask you about, and I should have asked Murph. It's something that comes up, but I've gotten more than one text message or tweet in regards to what is the deal with the goalpost sign or the U sign that Alabama players make when they hit a home run or a double and on base. Do you know what that is?
Well, the whole, I don't know, it seems like the whole theme behind the social media drive with the Alabama athletics right now is the Bama U and the Built by Bama, and I'm assuming it has something to do with that. I don't typically ask teams a lot of questions about that. That would be a Holly Rowe question,
right.
And when I see her today, I will ask her, and I will text it to you and let you know. But I would assume it's for the Bama U.
Yeah, well, text me when you find out, because I hadn't thought much about it either. I see him doing it, and then, but Clare Jenkins really did it to Murph, and Murph did it to her. Then she did it again to her teammates before she crossed the plate on her home run. And since people have asked me about it, I'm just trying to find out. So text me when you find out. Real quick thought: a big positive that did come out of last night. Speaking of Clare Jenkins, was she's. I guess for the postseason or something. She been forever since she got a hit, and she broke out in a big way last night and was the star of that game, hitting for the Alabama. So that's a good sign going forward.
Well, I tell you, with Claire, she'd be foolish not to stick to her. She shows bunt, and what that does for Claire is it creates rhythm with her hands, and because her lower half has always been fine, and I think she'd be insane not to go back to using that method of hitting that was used so much back in the 80s and early 90s, because we had to play at 40 feet. And so to create good timing and rhythm, you didn't have a whole lot of options on that. So a lot of people used to use that. And I was shocked when she got up the third time and she didn't go back to it, because it's giving her a much better rhythm with her hands. She has a slower hand set, which gives her a lot more speed coming forward. She's not jerking back and jerking forward. And I think it would be a great thing for her. And it was such a much-needed bonus for her. And if she can keep going, and like I told you earlier, if KB and Tao, one of those two, or Dykes, or I should say three, really could get going, you're going to see them be able to score quite a bit of runs.
Enjoyed it as always, and I love Beth Mowens and Michelle Smith and Mendoza and all of them, but I'm really excited tomorrow for my pal Adam Amin to be on the call of Alabama and Florida. So I'm looking.
Adam, I had so much fun at the SEC tournament and here. I don't know if this will last forever, because I'm sure at some point in time he's going to be gobbled up by one entity. But I want to tell your listeners, I have never worked with somebody who is so incredibly prepared and emotionally and physically dedicated to whatever he is covering. He is just an amazing human being. He has incredible talent across the board. It doesn't matter what sport he's calling. And he's just a really good guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope everybody knows that.
Yeah, and he spoils us because we're getting used to having a signature call from him on about every event that he does. But he's a terrific person. Hey, thanks so much, Karen, and do text me that info on the Goalpost. Whatever it is.